Well, as we've been talking for the past few days here since state lawmakers approved a budget, the largest state budget in state history, you also had $1.8 billion in tax relief, a lot of that being temporary, and the grocery tax that's going to be zeroed out for only a year. But the looming gas tax increase of 2.2 cents a gallon, that's only going to be frozen for 6 months. And that relief, quote unquote, not even going to be felt, quite frankly. And that's supposed to kick in July 1st, but even the gas tax or even the grocery tax isn't going to kick in until July 1st. Well, to react to the gas tax freeze, again, that hasn't kicked in yet, 2.2 cents a gallon. I think Megan and I, we estimated that, she could possibly save like $15 a year. Part of that, though, is language in the legislation that requires gas stations to put a sticker on their pump announcing this freeze in the cost of living increase of gas taxes. And if they don't do it, they could get a $500 fine a day. Well, one of the associations representing these stores across the state is the Illinois Fuel and Retail Association, and Josh Sharp is the executive director. He joins us now on WMAY. Josh, thanks for taking time. Your reaction to all of this?
Yeah, good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me on. Our reaction is that specifically related to the signage requirement in that bill, that's unconstitutional. That's compelling people to utter speech that they don't want to say or that they don't want to take part in. And the state has not only assigned a fine to that, but they've criminalized it. It's actually a petty offense under the bill, which is a criminal sanction. It's up there with a traffic ticket or something like that. And like you said, those fines are pretty steep. We're talking $500 a day. So given what's in that bill, I think we're likely to probably, we have to wait for the governor to go ahead and sign the bill, but I think we're likely to challenge that issue in court.
So who pays for the stickers? I didn't necessarily see that spelled out in this.
Well, that's part of the problem of doing legislation at the last minute is you don't get answers to questions like that. We asked several people during the legislative process about who would be paying for the signs, and we still have not heard back. We presume at this point it's us. We're supposed to supply the signs, but we're not sure if the state will have some kind of official sign yet or not.
And then I guess I kind of know the answer to this question because they couldn't answer it Wednesday when it was asked, and they couldn't answer it Saturday morning when it was asked. But how much is the sign going to cost?
Great question, and I think we don't know. We're still looking into that. Frankly, it's sort of bizarre to us that we're even having to explore an answer to that question because we never thought this would be something that would even be on the table as part of the budget process. Would be mandatory signs with criminal sanctions attached to them if you don't put them at the pump.
We're talking with the Illinois Fuel and Retail Association Executive Director Josh Sharp here on Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop at 8:26. The budget has yet to be sent, but it's queued up. You've got the budget bill, the appropriations, the budget implementation bill, and also the tax provisions all spelled out in a package. So we'll see what happens when the governor signs that. But I guess in a way, is this really going to provide relief? Are your members going to get the praise of people filling up the pump because of this 2.2 cents a gallon?
Yeah, I wouldn't characterize it as relief because it's a tax that never went into effect to begin with. The motor fuel tax rate on July 1st, when the state budget kicks in, will remain exactly the same as it is today. And furthermore, the state's going to get their money back. There's 2 tax increases now in 2023. So all we're doing is delaying one of them until after the election. So there will be a tax increase on January 1st, and there will be a tax increase on July 1st, 2023. So the state isn't going to forego this revenue. They're going to get their money. They're just hoping that people won't notice until after the election's over.
Well, and they've also kind of gotten a windfall, right? We just saw the BLS numbers come out showing that fuel, oil, in the past 12 months has gone up 70%. And again, that's just fuel oil. Gasoline's about 48 or so. But that's a lot of money. And on top of that is sales tax in Illinois.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Because the underlying commodity here, gasoline, has a sales tax imposed on it. Whenever that price of that commodity goes up, like we've seen, the amount that the state's going to get back via sales tax also escalates greatly. So we've heard estimates that could be as much as $700 or $800 million more than the state of Illinois planned on taking in. There was actually legislation to cap the state sales tax rate. It did not pass this legislative session, unfortunately. But we thought that was a really great idea, was to cap that sales tax rate at 18 cents per gallon. That would provide, I think, real meaningful relief at the pump for motorists. That would be somewhere between 20, 30, 40 cents a gallon, as opposed to just suspending a pending tax increase that was 2 cents a gallon.
Josh Sharp with Illinois Fuel and Retail Association. Again, just to kind of react here to the 2.2 cents that's going to be frozen, not yet in effect. That's supposed to kick in July 1st with the state legislature passing that measure and these stickers that are on pumps that they're going to require. We'll watch all that plays out, but ultimately, you're looking at the gas stations on border communities. They're gonna continue seeing people cross the river to fill up elsewhere, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. As long as you have a tax situation in Missouri, where their state taxes are, I think, are less than half of Illinois, or also Iowa, where they're not quite less than half, but they're still much cheaper. Yeah, it's very difficult for my members in those border areas to compete, and that will continue.
Well, Josh, we'll watch this closely. Of course, no lawsuit filed yet, but something being prepared.
I think so. Like I said, we have to wait for the governor to officially sign the bill for it to become a law that you could challenge in court. We're, of course, reviewing all of our options, but I would say I think the lawsuit's likely at this point.
Well, and was there any, when they doubled the gas tax back in 2019, was there any such efforts, or what did your members
No.
have to deal with when people filling up at the pump all of a sudden saw, my gosh, this is so much more expensive now overnight? I mean, did they have to? Did these gas station owners have to field complaints like that?
Oh yeah, a lot of people complained, but believe it or not, there was no state-run PR effort at that time to make sure that people knew that the gas tax had doubled. I think it's interesting if you look at the bill. You spoke earlier about the grocery tax being suspended, and the way that's written into the legislation, the grocers are supposed to make every effort to let people know about the grocery tax being suspended. But there's no criminal penalty. There's no $500 a day fine for grocers. There is for gasoline retailers. And I think probably the reason for that is you've got some very frightened politicians in Springfield, perhaps a few of them running statewide, that fear that they're going to be the ones to wear the jacket for high gas prices during the fall. And they're doing everything they can to get their message out and let people know about the so-called relief. But I think it's interesting that if the gasoline retailers got held to such a higher standard in criminal and financial penalties as opposed to the grocery tax.
Well, Josh Sharp, Springfield, of course, always throwing some curveballs late in the early morning hours when it comes to the final days of session. So I appreciate you taking time and reacting to some of that. And we'll definitely touch base in the near future. Josh Sharp, Illinois Fuel and Retail Association Executive Director. Thanks again. Be safe out there.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
It is Springfield.